Far beyond the warm countries and the busy cities of the world lies a place so quiet that even time seems to rest there. This is Antarctica, a vast glimmering kingdom of white, where the snow stretches endlessly and the sky feels larger than anywhere else on Earth. Here the air is crisp and pure, and the light dances across the ice in silvery ribbons that shimmer like fallen stars. The land is so untouched that every footstep feels like a gentle echo, disappearing as soon as it appears. And yet, for all its stillness, Antarctica has a secret softness to it, as if it has been dreaming for thousands of years. People who visit this frozen world often say the ice is alive with whispers. These whispers aren't loud or frightening. They are soft, delicate murmurs carried by the wind. On quiet evenings when the sky glows pale lavender and the surface of the ice glints like crystal, the wind seems to sing stories, memories from a time when the world was young. Some believe the wind tells tales of shifting glaciers and ancient seas. Others think it speaks about the snowflakes that have fallen here through the ages, each one joining a silent, layered history, deeper than imagination itself. The researchers living at the lonely outposts on the ice often step outside at night just to listen. Wrapped in thick coats and scarves, they stand very still as the cold settles around them. The wind brushes past like a gentle ghost, swirling through carved channels of ice and over towering white ridges. It carries a faint melody, rising and falling in soft breaths. No one can say exactly what the whispers mean, but many feel comforted by them, as if the land itself is welcoming those who respect its quiet. In the heart of this remote frozen continent, the ground beneath the ice is older than the oldest forests and deeper than the deepest lakes. Mountains sleep under the snow, their peaks hidden below vast blankets of frost. Caverns carved by time lie buried so far down that sunlight has never touched them. The ice above them is layered in shimmering blues, each shade marking a moment in Earth's memory. Some layers are clear as glass, others cloudy like frozen breath. Together they form a towering archive of the planet's past, preserved in perfect stillness. On certain days, when the wind calms and the world becomes completely still, one can almost imagine the ice breathing. A soft rumble sometimes stirs beneath the frozen crust, not loud or alarming, just the faintest movement, like a slow heartbeat waking after a long rest. The sound fades as quickly as it comes, leaving the air calm once more. Those who hear it often pause, wondering if they imagined it, or if the land truly shifted beneath their feet. Yet there is always a sense that Antarctica holds something quietly magnificent, hidden deep within its ancient layers. In this serene, whispering land, the mysteries lie patiently, resting in the cold glow of endless ice and untouched snow, waiting gently within the silence of the world's quietest place. The research station stood quietly in the middle of the frozen landscape, its small lights glowing like tiny lanterns in an endless night. Inside the warm metal walls, the scientists worked patiently, surrounded by humming machines and neatly stacked journals. They spent their days studying weather patterns, ice layers, and the gentle tremors that sometimes moved beneath the snow. Nothing about their routine ever rushed. Life here flowed slowly, like the drift of falling snowflakes. Among the researchers was a young scientist named Lila. She had a thoughtful nature and a habit of listening more than she spoke. Every morning she would step outside before the others woke, letting the icy breeze brush past her cheeks. She liked to feel the quiet of the world settle around her before beginning her work. It made her feel connected to the land, as if she were greeting an old friend who never needed words. On those peaceful mornings, she often heard soft murmurs in the wind, sounds that made her curious, but never afraid. One particularly calm day, as dawn cast a pale glow over the ice, Lila noticed something peculiar on her instruments. A small, blinking light appeared on the monitor, faint but steady. It shouldn't have been there. The readings showed warmth, subtle, gentle warmth, rising from deep below the ice. At first, she thought it must be an error. She wiped the frost from the machine, tapped the screen, and reset the system. But when the readings returned, the warm signal glowed again, unwavering. She called in her teammates, who gathered around the monitor with quiet surprise. They spoke softly, careful not to disturb the steady hum of the machines. The warmth didn't match any usual geothermal pattern they had recorded before. It wasn't spreading outward like a volcanic patch or shifting like moving water. Instead, it pulsed gently, almost rhythmically, as if something far below was glowing with a calm, living heat. Curiosity guided them outside, where the cold air wrapped around them instantly. They trudged across the snow toward the area where the signal pointed, their boots sinking softly into the powder. The sky hung overhead like a pale pearl, and the ice beneath their feet sparkled with untouched brilliance. Everything looked ordinary on the surface, still white and peaceful, yet the instruments insisted that something unusual lay hidden beneath. Lila knelt down and placed her gloved hand on the snow. She didn't expect to feel anything through all the layers of cold, but she closed her eyes anyway, letting her mind wander into the silence. For a brief moment, she sensed the faintest tremor. It wasn't sharp or threatening, more like the soft thump of a distant drum under layers of blankets. She opened her eyes slowly, her breath forming a gentle cloud in the air. Back at the station, the team continued examining data with growing wonder. The warmth was real. The gentle pulsing was real. The gentle pulsing was real. Something deep under the ice was stirring in a way none of them had observed before. The discovery came quietly, without fanfare, but it held a weight that made every person in the room pause for just a moment, letting the realization settle like a snowflake landing softly on their gloves. Far from the quiet hush of the icy continent, the world continued its busy rhythm. Cities glowed through the night, streets buzzed with movement, and offices stayed lit long after sunset. Yet, in these bustling places, something small but intriguing began to drift into conversations. Reports from the distant research station about unusual warmth beneath the frozen ground. At first, the news appeared only as a brief mention in scientific circles, a tiny footnote tucked between routine observations. But slowly, quietly, curiosity began to grow. In government buildings, advisors brought forward the data with gentle caution. The measurements were unusual, the patterns unexpected, and the consistency puzzling. Leaders sat in long meetings listening as experts described the signals pulsing from beneath the ice. None of them had clear explanations, and the uncertainty made everyone lean a little closer. Even those who usually paid little attention to distant frozen landscapes found themselves wondering what could be causing such a persistent, gentle glow from so deep below. Across oceans, in different languages and time zones, the same questions surfaced. Could the warmth be a new kind of natural phenomenon? Could it be something ancient that had only now revealed itself? Or could it be something with potential value, scientific, historical, or even practical? People didn't say these thoughts loudly, but they lived quietly in the backs of their minds, forming little threads of wonder that wove their way through discussions. At universities, scientists gathered in calm, thoughtful groups. They studied maps, temperature charts, and satellite images with growing interest. Some believed it was a rare geological event. Others thought it might be a hidden ecosystem or an untouched cavern warmed by the Earth's deep breath. Though many possibilities floated through the air, none could be confirmed, and the uncertainty brought both excitement and careful concern. News agencies began sharing the discovery with gentle fascination. Their words carried the story from living rooms to morning cafes, from libraries to school hallways. Children listened with wide eyes, imagining glowing crystals or mysterious underground lakes. Adults read the reports with a quieter kind of wonder, thinking about the vastness of the unknown world. The idea that something unusual lay beneath the ancient ice stirred a sense of curiosity that stretched from continent to continent. Governments requested more information, asking for updates on the readings and any new findings. Their letters and messages were polite, but beneath the formal language lived the same unspoken question: what exactly lies under the frozen earth? It wasn't fear that guided their interest, but a deep desire to understand. The earth still held secrets, and those secrets had a way of capturing attention no matter how distant they were. Conversations continued in quiet meeting rooms and softly lit offices, each person speaking with care as they examined the growing collection of data. Nothing about the situation was rushed. Nothing was decided quickly. The world simply watched, wondered, and waited with patient curiosity, letting the mystery settle gently into their thoughts, like snow falling softly on a winter night. The morning was unusually still when Lila stepped outside. The sky stretched in a soft, pale blue that seemed to hum with quiet expectation. Frost sparkled across every surface, clinging to railings, tools, and the edges of the research station like delicate silver lace. Lila tightened her coat around herself and let her breath drift into the cold air as she gazed across the wide expanse of white. The gentle pulse beneath the ice had occupied her thoughts through the night, its steady rhythm lingering like a dream she didn't want to lose. Today felt like a day meant for understanding, for stepping closer to the heart of the mystery resting beneath the frozen layers. She and her team prepared carefully, checking ropes, lights, and instruments with the slow precision that life in such a harsh place had taught them. No one hurried. Movements were gentle, deliberate, like a quiet ritual. The entrance to the ice tunnel had been carved cautiously, widening bit by bit over days, shaped by careful hands and simple tools. When Lila stood at its edge, she felt as if she were looking into the beginning of a story written by the ear itself. Stepping inside, she was greeted by a world of shimmering blue walls. Light from her headlamp caught the frozen surfaces, making them glow softly like sleeping crystals. The air was cold but calm, carrying only the faint sound of her boots pressing into the snow-packed floor. Each step echoed gently as though the ice was listening. The tunnel curved downward in a graceful slope, leading her deeper into a place untouched by warmth or sunlight for ages. As Lila descended, she noticed tiny bubbles trapped in the ice, minute pockets of ancient air suspended like stars in a frozen sky. She paused often to admire them, letting her gloved fingertips brush the smooth surfaces. The ice seemed alive with quiet stories. Patterns flowed through it in pale swirls and deep cobalt streaks, like painted brush strokes, frozen in time. Every layer felt like a page of history pressed together under the weight of centuries. Farther down, the color of the tunnel began to shift. The blues softened into faint hints of gold, subtle at first like the memory of warmth. Lila slowed her steps, sensing a change in the air. It wasn't heat exactly, but a gentle softness that felt different from the sharp chill above. Her lamp revealed delicate flakes of frost shimmering in golden hues, as if touched by light from within the ice rather than above it. When she reached the cavern, she stopped completely. The space opened into a wide, silent chamber, carved by nature's patient hand. Arched ceilings glittered with frost, and the walls glowed faintly, as though holding a quiet breath. In the center of the chamber rested a radiant sphere, its surface smooth and luminous, pulsing with the same gentle rhythm that had first appeared in her readings. Its glow filled the cavern with a calm warmth that never melted the ice, but softened the air around it. Lila stood still, letting the serene light wash over her. She felt no fear, only a deep, peaceful wonder, as if she had stepped into a dream woven from the earth's oldest secrets. The cavern remained silent, its gentle glow wrapping around her like a soft blanket made of light and stillness. While the icy cavern remained quiet and peaceful beneath the surface, the world above it slowly began to stir with uncertainty. Far from the stillness of the frozen continent, crowded cities and warm towns found themselves wrapped in conversations that carried a different kind of chill, one made not of cold air, but of worry. Homes, cafes, and offices buzzed faintly with questions that had no clear answers. The gentle warmth observed beneath the ice had begun as a scientific curiosity, but now it drifted into everyday discussions with an uneasy tone that spread carefully from one person to another. In brightly lit meeting rooms, groups of officials sat around polished tables, papers neatly arranged before them. Their voices remained calm, but their eyes told another story. They reviewed satellite images, temperature charts, and reports that grew longer each day. No one used alarming words, yet there was a quiet tension in the way they exchanged glances. Something unusual existed beneath the ancient ice, and not knowing what it meant left them unsettled. The uncertainty didn't shout, it whispered, softly, persistently, making everyone lean forward with cautious attention. Scholars and researchers felt the shift as well, their inboxes filled with polite requests for explanations, clarifications, and updates. Though they answered every question with care, they felt a weight settling over their work like a thin layer of frost. The data remained steady, the readings unchanged, yet the world's reaction grew larger than the information itself. People were no longer simply curious. They were nervous. The unknown had a way of stirring restlessness, even when wrapped in quiet, gentle rhythms. News channels reported the discovery with calm voices, but the expressions of their presenters betrayed a trace of concern. They spoke slowly, choosing their words with deliberate softness so as not to alarm their viewers. Still, audiences leaned toward their screens, searching for something certain, something reassuring. The world enjoyed mysteries when they remained distant stories, but when a mystery surfaced from beneath the earth itself, it became harder for people to simply enjoy the wonder. In living rooms, families gathered around their televisions, discussing the findings with thoughtful expressions. Parents tried to speak with steady voices, offering comforting explanations, but the questions continued to grow. Children, unaware of the weight behind the adults' concerns, asked innocent questions about glowing ice and hidden warmth. Their imaginations painted pictures far gentler than the quiet worries drifting through the minds of those older. Even in places untouched by the frenzy of modern life, small towns, peaceful villages, and quiet countryside homes, people glanced at newspapers or scrolled through messages with furrowed brows. Though life continued at its usual pace, a sense of collective unease lingered like a soft shadow beneath the day's routine. The world didn't panic with day's routine. It didn't rush, it simply grew uneasy, like a person trying to sleep while listening to a faint sound just out of reach. The uncertainty settled gently over nations and communities, resting in thoughts and conversations that carried a subtit. Unspoken hope for clarity. For now, all anyone could do was wait and wonder, letting the unknown rest quietly in the back of their minds, like a distant echo drifting through a calm night. Deep beneath the frozen surface, the cavern rested in gentle silence. The soft glow at its center pulsed with a calm rhythm, filling the still air with a light as smooth as warm moonshine. Lila stood quietly, her breath rising in faint clouds, watching the sphere's delicate radiance spread across the icy walls. Nothing around her stirred. It felt as though time itself had paused, allowing the chamber to breathe in peaceful unison with the glowing heart of the ice. The sphere brightened slowly, as though waking from a long and tranquil slumber. The golden light deepened, stretching into the corners of the cavern with a gentle warmth that didn't melt the frost, but seemed to cradle it instead. Lila stepped forward carefully, her boots crunching softly on the frozen floor. The warmth wasn't physical. It touched her senses more than her skin. like a comforting presence quietly drawing near. She paused only a short distance away from the sphere, feeling a calmness settle over her with surprising ease. For a moment, she wondered if the glow was reacting to her presence. The soft pulses rose and fell like the quiet hum of a distant lullaby, soothing and steady. The cavern walls reflected the light in ripples of gold that shimmered like sunlight caught beneath waves. Lila felt as though the entire space had become a single gentle breath, steady, serene, and ancient. There was no movement except the slow flicker of the sphere's radiance, and the silence was so complete it felt purposeful. Then, without sound or motion, something shifted. It was not a noise, nor a vibration. Instead, it was a noise, nor a vibration. Instead, it was a huff, feeling light and delicate, like a whisper made not of words, but of emotion. A gentle presence seemed to reach out to her, not invading her thoughts, but brushing against them with a soft curiosity. Lila closed her eyes instinctively, letting the peace wash through her. The sensation carried warmth without heat, comfort without touch, and meaning without speech. In that quiet connection, a message formed, not in sentences or images, but in a simple, clear understanding. The sphere felt alive in a distant, ancient way, as though it held memories older than the ice surrounding it. Its presence conveyed harmony, patience, and a quiet wish to be seen without fear. Lila sensed no urgency, no danger, no demand, only a gentle reassurance, like the earth itself, offering a calm breath to anyone willing to listen. When she opened her eyes, the light had softened again, returning to its steady, peaceful rhythm. The cavern appeared unchanged, yet Lila felt as if a soft truth now rested in the air around her. The sphere's message lingered within her thoughts, not loud, not forceful, but steady and comforting, like a warm lantern glowing inside her chest. She stood still for a long while, letting the serenity of the moment settle gently over her. The chamber remained silent, bathed in calm golden light, as if the quiet glow wished only to be understood, not disturbed. Nothing stirred in the cavern of ice except the steady, peaceful pulse of the sphere, breathing softly into the ancient stillness around it. The days that followed carried a quiet softness, as though the world had taken a slow, deep breath, without realizing it. In homes, offices, and quiet corners of distant cities, people listened to the simple truth, shared from the frozen continent. The words were calm, steady, and careful, like chosen to reflect the gentle nature of the discovery beneath the ice. Nothing about the message was loud or dramatic. It carried the soothing tone of something meant to reassure rather than alarm. People found themselves pausing as they read or listened, letting the peaceful meaning settle like snowflakes drifting silently onto a still field. Representatives from many places gathered in softly lit halls, their faces thoughtful rather than tense. Papers rustled gently as they exchanged information, each person speaking with a voice lowered, not out of fear, but out of respect for the delicate understanding forming among them. The atmosphere felt different from the restless conversations of earlier days. There was a quiet sense of relief, a shift from worry to calm curiosity, as though a gentle warmth had begun to melt the thin layer of unease resting over everyone's thoughts. The idea that something peaceful and ancient rested beneath the ice brought a comfort that many had not expected. The reports of the sphere's gentle glow, its steady rhythm and calm presence, were shared in soft words, accompanied by a tone that resembled a bedtime story more than a scientific briefing. People found reassurance in the simplicity of it. The unknown no longer felt threatening. It felt serene, patient, and unhurried, like something that had been waiting quietly for ages without ever wishing to disturb the world above. Communities sent thoughtful letters to the researchers, filled with gentle questions and notes of gratitude. Children drew pictures of glowing caverns and shimmering walls of ice, decorating them with stars and warm colors that reflected the sense of wonder the discovery inspired. Adults, too, found themselves speaking more softly, when discussing the cavern, as though raising in their voices might somehow disrupt the peacefulness resting beneath the frozen layers. Meetings that had once carried tension now felt like gatherings of people seeking harmony. Leaders exchanged ideas with steady patience, agreeing that the calm nature of the discovery deserved to be met with the same calmness in return. Plans were discussed with delicate care, focusing on gentle study, shared responsibility, and an understanding that no one owned the quiet secret held within the ice. The tone remained peaceful, guided not by urgency, but by respect for something older and quieter than all of them. As the conversations continued, a soft understanding grew, a recognition that the Earth still held mysteries that called for unity rather than division. The stillness of the ice, the glow of the cavern, and the serene message carried through Lila's experience all became symbols of a gentle truth. Not every unknown is meant to stir fear. Some are meant to inspire calm reflection. And so the world, in its own quiet way, embraced this understanding. The tension that once hovered like a distant cloud faded into something lighter, almost tender. In the hearts of many, a peaceful appreciation settled in, soft and steady, like a quiet lantern glowing against the endless white of a winter night.